I kept my secret of being a wealthy young heir to help my girlfriend's family through a financial crisis, only to discover she secretly posted about marrying someone else on social media. The love of my life, now beside me, was the caption under a picture of her kissing someone at the beach. It only took a second for me to recognize it was my assistant. Someone jokingly asked, "What about your pure-hearted war god back home?" Her reply came swiftly, "He doesn't even deserve to stand in front of me." I felt utterly crushed, so I immediately halted all the business partnerships with her family and was ready to throw away the engagement ring I planned to use. That very day, upon learning of the canceled partnership, Nancy rushed to confront me, furiously slapping papers onto my face. "Richard, what on earth is in that head of yours? Why did the partnership get canceled?" Her face was tense, voice sharp, a complete contrast to her sweet demeanor in the sunset photo. I knew her anger had reasons. Their small company finally linked up with mine, promising continuous wealth. Silently, I showed her a screenshot of the social media post. Ironically, I, the boyfriend, couldn't see her posts directly, but noticed them through a company phone. Seeing the screenshot, she showed a hint of panic but quickly regained composure, a disdainful smile crossing her lips, unfazed by shame. "Spying on my phone now, are we? Didn't expect that of you. Since you know, I'll be direct. My family weathered this economic storm all thanks to Gary's secret help. You, with your skills, didn't really aid my family's growth." The company fell silent, ears perked for gossip, staring at me with contempt, piercing me like needles. Nancy's dad dispersed the crowd with a face full of veiled mockery. "Richard, thank you for your contributions, taking on the toughest projects. But marriage is about matching backgrounds. I can't let my daughter marry you just 'cause you're good at work. You're an adult. Stop fantasizing about impossible things." I clenched my fists, seeing the depths of their shamelessness. Harboring feelings for Nancy for years, I hid my identity to get close and worked diligently. Spotting my talent, they tested me by saving their company, only to appeal when nothing worked. Once they were stabilizing, Nancy herself approached, acknowledging my feelings and agreeing to date. Suddenly, I was shoved, grounding me back to reality, sending the ring I hadn't discarded rolling out from my pocket. It was a diamond, the size of a bird's egg, bringing a painful irony. I had planned to propose, revealing my identity as a wealthy heir, but didn't expect to find her publicly engaged to another. Trying to fool with a bird's egg ring, huh? "Probably just a toy," commented Nancy's mom, casting a derisive glance at the fallen ring. Colleagues looked at it, murmuring how someone like me couldn't afford such a ring. A man like him pretending with a bird's egg. He couldn't buy one, it's glass probably. If Nancy marries him, she'd wear a glass ring all her life. These sneering words drained Nancy's already pale face further. She picked up the ring and flung it at me, eyes piercing. "Get lost. Stop embarrassing yourself here." Suddenly, a wave of nausea hit her, causing her to gag, clutching her mouth. Nancy's mom grimaced and eased her daughter, whispering, "Hasn't it been over 3 months? How is it still this bad?" Though whispered, I heard clearly. Witnessing Nancy's proud smile as she tenderly touched her belly, I realized how deeply I'd been deceived. "Is it Gary's?" I asked, trembling, my heart bleeding. After 3 years of restraint, respecting her claim of conservatism, learning she cheated severed a part of my trust. As Nancy composed herself, she straightened, prideful, "Yes, only someone as outstanding as Gary is worth everything." With a hint of bitter self-awareness, I smiled, hope she doesn't regret it when she knows the truth. As the atmosphere tensed, Nancy's brother, Mike, rushed in from the outside, breathless. "Nancy, I found out Gary was the one who terminated the contract." Hearing this, Nancy turned white, her expression shifting wildly. Unsettled by this twist, they drove to the corporate building, desperation driving them. Reluctant, I followed, watching from a distance. Just approaching the entrance, a deep male voice called out, "Nancy." They halted, turning back. It was Gary, the assistant I'd never met in person, newly hired through online channels for Nancy's company. "Gary, why was the agreement terminated?" Nancy, impatient, questioned. Yet Gary ignored her, throwing me a derisive look. Is that the one bugging you? The infamous Richard? I sensed an odd hostility from him, but it vanished just as quickly. Yes, that's him, Nancy replied, caught off guard, stressing. But I've distanced myself, he just followed along. Nancy's brother interjected, indeed, Nancy was devoted to you, Gary. He's really trying to punch above his weight, thinking he can win Nancy over. Nancy's dad and mom were fuming, giving me glares. They quickly chimed in. Gary narrowed his dark eyes and held Nancy close, a teasing glint in his eyes. I got it now. I found some issues with the contract your company submitted. Someone's probably sabotaging from the inside. Clearly, he was blaming me. Nancy's face went icy in an instant. Without thinking, she slapped me hard. You can't have me, so you're trying to ruin my family, huh? Fix that contract today or you'll never work here again. Everything happened so fast, I didn't even have time to react. Holding my burning cheek, I stared at Nancy in disbelief. The contract had been thoroughly checked. Today was just a formality. Nancy, don't you find what he said suspicious? Realization finally hit Nancy. She looked at me with a pained expression before pulling her hand back, then glanced at Gary with doubt. I didn't bother explaining to her. Swallowing my bitterness, I turned and gave Gary a meaningful smile. You're a fake. Stolen things remain stolen. Dare to show her your ID? Gary's eyes widened in shock, a wave of panic washing over him. Nancy thought he was mad and, trying to show off in front of him, shoved me. Richard, watch your mouth. If Gary isn't Gary, then who? Get a clue. What makes you think you can compare to Gary? Dad, Mom, come help. Nancy's parents got her hint. Each took one of my arms and led me away. Gary watched smugly as they escorted me out, flashing a challenging smirk. A hint of unease crept in. Something about Gary didn't sit right with me. Midway, I shook off their hands. Enough. I can leave on my own. I'd lost all hope in them. They were fine when they needed me, but the moment they found something better, they tossed me aside. Nancy blocked my path and wouldn't let me go. No, you've always handled the contracts with Gary. You need to sort it out or there's no walking away from this mess. As we tussled into the street with cars passing by, I let go, fearing she'd get hurt. Nancy, we're in the street. Let's talk on the side. Just as I said that, a speeding car came her way. She froze, eyes wide with fear, and without thinking, pivoted, pushing me into the car's path to shield herself. Brakes screeched loudly, piercing my ears. Thankfully, the driver reacted quickly and stopped short, hurling a few choice words before driving off. I sat there on the road, shaken, feeling utterly let down. It was painfully clear Nancy didn't care one bit. As I tried to get up, Nancy's terrified scream pierced the air. I turned around too late. A Maserati sped straight at me. I flew like a ragdoll into the bushes, head bleeding, feeling like every internal organ had been shattered. Pain coursed through me. The last thing I saw was Gary behind the wheel, glaring at me with rabid hatred. I couldn't fathom why he loathed me so much since we'd never met. My consciousness faded, and when I came to, I was in a hospital. Richard, you're awake. Want some water? Nancy sighed in relief, eager to hand me a cup of warm water. I took a sip. Then, she hesitated. Richard, I never told you this. Gary was my college crush. You reminded me of him, so you were sort of a stand-in. But when I connected with him, I found out he was Gary. You know how it is with wealthy families, status matters. Considering our past, why not let go? As for him accidentally hitting you, I'd like you to agree to settle quietly. His family has a reputation in the capital, and we don't want complications. Also, with our wedding next month, please don't cause trouble. Hearing she stayed by my bed had initially comforted me. But after she spoke, I wished she'd left me for dead. She watched my reaction nervously. Seeing no response, Nancy signaled her parents. Richard, we're reasonable people. You've done a lot for us. You'll be rewarded. Nancy's father handed me a card on the bedside table. There's 200 grand here. Take it and cut ties with Nancy. Also, before leaving, wrap up the projects. Start strong, finish strong. Knowing their intentions, I smiled bitterly, meeting Nancy's eyes. Gently, I asked, "Nancy, even for a moment, did you ever love me?" Staring unblinkingly, I scrutinized her face for any hint, but she dropped her gaze, silent and dodging my question. My hope crumbled, leaving only emptiness. Without pressing further, I agreed to her terms as a final closure. Little did I expect they'd use the project I handled to woo Gary. Gary, not knowing much, led to a serious safety breach. A worker fell and it claimed a life. When Nancy came with the cops to arrest me, I realized she'd pinned the blame on me to protect Gary. "Nancy, do you even have a heart?" As the police led me away, I yelled back. She knew Gary's name would merely tarnish his reputation. Yet, she still sacrificed me for his dignity. I didn't stay long at the station. My reliable ally Mike bailed me out soon after. Gary Nancy's hosting an engagement party at a hotel with some poser. Secretary Mike glanced at me, knowing what I was thinking, and pulled out an invite from his pocket. I squinted my eyes, speaking coldly with a bloodthirsty tone. "Let's go. Congratulate them on behalf of the company." Nancy climbed up this tree, spreading word of a partnership despite the canceled contract. Today's guests are folks she couldn't have even dreamed of inviting. As soon as Mike and I walked in, all eyes were on us. Many recognized me, raising their glasses to chat. Suddenly, Nancy's dad came rushing out with security. "Richard, what are you doing here?" Seeing me was like seeing a ghost. He snapped back to reality after a long few seconds. He got close and growled a warning, totally ignoring everyone else's looks. I signaled Mike. Mike pulled out a gift box and politely said to Nancy's dad, "Hello, our CEO wanted to be here for Nancy's big day. This is an engagement gift for her." Mike's loud voice silenced the room. Gary wanted a low-key party, so only Nancy's closest knew her fiancé was supposedly a CEO. Now everyone else was looking back and forth between me and Gary, wondering who was the real deal. Who's getting engaged to Nancy? Why's there another one? Wait, isn't this guy the real CEO? I know Mike, he's his top guy. In this circle, Mike handles all my outward dealings, so nobody's clueless about who he is. Gary's eyes widened, face turning pale. Nancy was stunned when she spotted Mike. Listening to the whispers, disbelief got painted all over her face again. No way, he can't be. Even with the truth staring at her, she wouldn't face reality. Someone couldn't take it anymore, shouting from the crowd. "Everyone knows the CEO's a big deal here. Who the heck are you marrying?" Laughter and sneers filled the air. Desperately, Nancy tried to fool herself. "I don't believe it. Gary's got a limited edition Maserati, only one in the country. I saw their security greet him. He's the real one, yeah." Trying to boost her confidence, she looked to the now hopeless Gary. Without his confirmation, Nancy was ready to burst into tears. Seeing my goal achieved, I watched them squirm in panic, a playful smile spreading across my lips. "He's my new assistant, supposed to handle your contract remotely. Didn't expect him to steal my identity," I explained. Showing her our chat logs with work orders for Gary, Mike brought out Gary's hiring info and payslips. "Nancy, check these out." Her fingers trembled, tiny movements broadcasting her inner panic. Silence flooded the room as everyone awaited Nancy's reaction. "Gary, is any of this true?" She cried out hoarsely, waving evidence. Her makeup couldn't hide the ghostly pallor. Gary's head drooped in shame under her furious questioning. Seeing the commotion, I left quietly with Mike. Those who knew better followed, not wanting to upset me. The once crowded hall emptied, turning this engagement bash into a big mess. Back at work, I totally severed ties with Nancy's firm. The news led several partners who were eager to team up to back out. With me gone from Nancy's company, she and her family struggled. They faced impending bankruptcy again. While discussing a new project at another hotel, Nancy's dad tricked me into a private room, pretending to be staff. "Richard, forgive the tactics, got no choice. You built our company. Don't want to see it crash, right? I know Nancy hurt you, but she was fooled by Gary. She's here to sincerely apologize. Do what you must." He groveled before me, utterly pathetic. Suppressing frustration, I made to leave, but Nancy's dad blocked the way, giving her a look. Hearing her steps, slow and uncertain, I turned. "Richard, I'm sorry," she stammered, clutching her clothes, face flushed with embarrassment. I quickly cut her off. "No need to apologize, it's done. I hope you and your lover find happiness." Remembering her past social media posts, I threw her arrogant words back. Nancy froze, face shifting through colors. Her lips trembled and tears welled up. She shot me a tearful, hateful glare before running off. Her dad tried talking, but my icy stare stopped him. In a bid to save her company, Nancy snuck into a society party. Arriving a few minutes late, I witnessed an entertaining drama unfold. She wore jewelry Gary gave her and worked the room, mingling and making connections. Sparked whispers. "Who is she? Wearing all that fake stuff to show off? I think she's from a small company and got Richard into trouble, which is why they're close to bankruptcy." Wow, that was Richard's old flame? Didn't expect her to be so average looking. That bracelet is such a fake. Looks like glass. Hearing these, she trembled like a leaf. Humiliated, she took off the bracelet and tossed it aside, leaving in shame. I followed her discreetly, knowing she'd probably confront Gary. Sure enough, she found a very drunk Gary in a seedy bar, pouring his heart out to another woman. You wouldn't believe how easy it was to fool her. Just one car and she bought my act as Gary, he laughed. A vain woman. Those jewels I gave her cost me only about $100 wholesale, and she treats them like gold. Nancy was trembling with anger, stepping back in disbelief, each of his words slicing into her last shred of dignity. Suddenly, her phone rang. It was her mom, her voice anxious. "Nancy, you need to come home. Your dad's in trouble." Her face went pale. Anxiety surged in. She gave Gary, still bragging, one last resentful look and rushed out. I smirked, slipped some cash to the woman prying information from Gary, and stayed put. The project wasn't resolved. How could Nancy's company get out of this? I gotta admit Gary was sharp, using Nancy's dad as a pawn. Every plan, every arrangement came from Gary, and Nancy's dad just followed orders. It was a slick move, making a clean getaway. An hour later, Gary sobered up a bit and Nancy, furious, returned. She shook him by the shoulders, demanding answers loudly, not caring about the sweet image she once maintained before him. "Gary, my dad's been detained and investigated. He acted only because you told him to. You gotta help him," Nancy cried. Gary, massaging his pounding head, shoved her off irritably. "Get lost. Every document was signed by him. None of it involves me." Nancy fell hard to the floor, silent for about 2 minutes. Tears brimmed in her reddened eyes, dropping to the ground. She couldn't hold in the cries any longer. "Gary, I never thought you'd be like this. I gave you my heart, and you used me." All she got in return was the ridicule from onlookers. Gary was long gone. She stumbled home, where her mother slapped her hard across the face. "Idiot! Still chasing that sham? How did I give birth to such a dumbo? Begging him instead of Richard." Her mother's tirade brought back tears Nancy had restrained. She covered her face, tears flowing freely, finally letting out emotions buried deep inside. "Mom, I liked him since college. He was like a lone moon, so unapproachable. But I found a way to get close to him. I slipped a maple leaf bookmark into his book, planning to confess. But then he transferred. And now we finally meet again. Even if he fooled me, years of hidden feelings don't just vanish. I don't know what to do now. Richard must hate me. Who can I turn to?" I stood at her doorway, listening to her heart-wrenching cries, an emotional storm raging inside me. I don't know how long I stood. When her cries finally stopped, I snapped back to reality and stumbled back, accidentally knocking over a trash can, causing a loud crash in the quiet night. Suddenly, Nancy ran out. Seeing me, a momentary flicker of embarrassment passed her face, but she soon composed herself, giving me a thoughtful look. "Here to enjoy my misfortune?" I smiled wryly, trying to hide my emotions. "This project involves too much." You and your mom should find a place to lay low. Despite everything, I don't want to see you caught up in this, I said, pretending to be sincere, mixing truth with lies. Nancy didn't expect that and froze, feeling mixed emotions. Richard, you're still so good to Nancy. Please help us out. We're absolutely desperate. Nancy's mom stepped out behind her, tears in her eyes, attempting to kneel before me. I quickly pulled her up, sighing deeply. Right now, Nancy, you should report Gary to the police. I remember he signed the initial project documents. I watched Nancy's expression closely. She looked down guiltily, clearly torn. Her mom saw her hesitation and slapped her again, angry at her. You still care about him? He's leaving us in ruins, and you're clinging to some one-sided past. Has he thought of you since this started? Does he care you're pregnant with his child? Her mom's words woke Nancy up. She touched her still flat belly, hatred growing in her eyes. With my help, she handed over the initial contract to the police. Her father was released. Gary was arrested in the bar. Richard, thank you. I'm planning to terminate this pregnancy. On the day Gary got arrested, Nancy found me, rubbing her belly, hesitant. I knew what she was going to say and cut her off. Nancy, don't overthink it. Whatever you decide is your choice. It's not my concern. Ignoring her forlorn look, I turned away, brushing past her without hesitation. Once trust's broken, feelings are hard to repair. I won't settle anymore, especially since she's only interested in my status now. I got back to the office, and Mike looked really serious. He told me some earth-shattering news. Richard, Gary got bailed out by old man Leo. He's Leo's illegitimate son. I was beyond shocked hearing that. I couldn't even process it before my dad called, asking me to come back home for dinner. Richard, this matter. Mike had a worried look. I just shook my head. I'll handle it. No need to worry. My relationship with my dad has always been rocky. I moved out once I became an adult. Mike's my right-hand man. He knows a thing or two about my situation. He insisted on coming with me back home because he was worried. We got back to the old house an hour later. As soon as I stepped into the living room, I heard laughter. Gary, you've had a hard time these years. With Dad around, you won't suffer anymore. Thanks, Dad. Not only will Gary be with you, but your unborn grandchild will also bring you joy. My dad was beaming, laughing heartily until I walked in. His laughter stopped abruptly. I glanced kind of shocked at Nancy sitting there. In the morning, she was talking to me all lovey-dovey about getting rid of the baby. Now she's cozying back up to Gary? Couldn't help but smirk. Women, huh? Sensing my sarcastic stare, Nancy dropped her head, looking uneasy. My dad's face turned sour as soon as he saw me. He slapped the table hard and shouted, "We waited for you for so long. Do you know that? I've heard about you and Gary. No matter your past grudges, he's your brother now. I've smoothed out that project issue. You should apologize for framing him. I want this family to get along. Gary has suffered a lot. Let him have some things like your car. Nancy's going to be your sister-in-law, so no funny thoughts." His words chilled me to the bone. A crime doesn't need a reason if people want to blame you. I clenched my fists, met his piercing eyes, and spoke coldly. Why should I apologize? Are you not going to mention him crashing my car or impersonating me to steal my stuff? Don't tell me you didn't know. You're just playing blind. And when he recklessly caused that incident in the west suburb, he pinned it on me. Do you think I'm as easy to bully as Mom was? My mom's passing is a knot we could never untie. Back then, he favored his mistress over my mom, leading her to depression. I never called him Dad after that. Yet, my mom's death is a constant reminder of what he did. I can't bring it up. Dad stood up abruptly, slapped me hard in embarrassment and anger. You ungrateful child. You're just as small-minded as your mom. Nancy's told me everything. This is all you're doing. Go kneel in the study now. I covered my burning cheek, said nothing. I just stared at Nancy. I wanted to ask why she lied, but I swallowed the urge down. To her, he's that lingering regret from her youth. What am I then? No need to degrade myself. She couldn't meet my eyes. Ashamed. Gary, arm around her, raised an eyebrow at me. challenging. I barely restrained myself from punching him, instead headed to the study. But no way am I kneeling. Mike, look into Gary's background. Mike nodded, about to leave when I called him back. Wait a sec. I walked out of the study. The living room was empty. Outside, I saw them cozy on a bench. Gary, I didn't expect you to really be Leo's son. And wow, you brought me here without grudges. I'll stop doubting you. Nancy kissed his cheek shyly. Without giving her a chance to pull away, Gary pulled her closer for a kiss. I thought I saw him glance in my direction. Let her go. I couldn't suppress my anger anymore and punched him, wrestling him to the ground. Stop it. Nancy, worried about her pregnancy, stood to the side, anxious. The commotion reached my dad quickly. He showed up, yelling to separate us. What a disgrace. Richard, I'm so disappointed in you. Dad was heartbroken, seeing Gary curled up in pain from my beating. He had to drop it and rush Gary to the hospital. Richard, Nancy looked guilty, hesitated, then left with them. I wiped blood from my lip, smirking. I opened my hand to reveal a strand of hair. Mike, get a DNA test. Unfortunately, tonight's events got captured by the media, blown out online. They said Leo's sons fought over a woman. The illegitimate son stole Richard's woman the moment he got back. So shameless. Heard Richard's car got taken too. Is there no justice? That woman's no good either, bouncing between two men. Online, people sided with me, tearing Gary apart. Gary was so embarrassed after getting out of the hospital, he snuck around to avoid using family cars. I holed up all day relishing the news, feeling great, until I saw Nancy's video clarifying things. Don't let yourselves be used by Richard. I've always loved Gary. Richard's just destroying us because he can't have me. See the truth, everyone. Plus, I'm carrying Gary's child. I'd never be involved with both men. Comments started to favor Nancy, questioning Leo's family's ways. I was still reading when Dad slapped me again. Furious. What a disgrace. Stop acting all jealous like your mom. Now the company's in trouble thanks to you. Find a way to calm the storm down for me. He left with that parting shot as an emergency call pulled him away. I stood there with half my face numb, my gaze turning cold. Accusing me of buying fake social media hype? Well, if I don't do something, I'd just be proving him right. Mike, get that news trending, I said. In less than a day, I was crucified online. The scandal of Leo's two men fighting over a woman stayed hot for 3 days straight. The company's stock faced 3 sequential down limits. My dad was frantic, gnarled with stress, and looked like he could kill me with his glare. Just when everyone thought I was plotting something sinister, news questioning Gary's identity hit the top of the charts. What? Gary is really the maid's son? A baby switcheroo. The maid, to give her own son a better life, swapped him with Leo's lover's newborn. That maid was our neighbor. It was said she never even turned back when her own son drowned. She was always fussing over her employer's kid. Turns out he was actually hers. I had a relative in the police. Heard some time back, Richard had been framed by Gary in a project, locked up for a night. That Gary is crafty. Online sleuths dug deeper, unearthing Nancy's betrayal after I helped her family. Clients who hoped to work with me through Nancy turned on her, demanding explanations and compensation. Just when Nancy's family had found stability, they were plunged into a total mess overnight. Nancy was in a panic, trying to dodge persistent reporters, and sneakily sought advice from Gary. Coincidentally, she caught him in a sneaky escape. Gary, you totally screwed me over. My family's sinking in this mess. You can't just leave. Help me out, she pleaded. Gary, looking grim, gritted his teeth and said, You've got no one but your own greed to blame. Anyway, I'm just a side piece's kid. It's gotta be Richard playing dirty. When he said that last part, the flicker in his eyes betrayed his lack of confidence. Richard, do you want me to have someone stop him? Mike asked, standing with me on the balcony, watching Gary make a hasty exit with stolen goods. I snorted and shook my head. No need. Just press the cops. Without Dad's protection now, they're clear to go after Gary for the project mishap. Gary tried to pin everything on my family to save his skin. The company was already in hot water, now pulled under even more by Gary. My dad was so stressed he turned gray overnight, stuck dealing with external backlash day and night, and, already drained, found Gary had been leaking company secrets to rivals. The company was a shell and chaos reigned. My dad was past regret. He tried to get me to save the company. I flat out refused, leaving him no choice but to file charges, personally reporting Gary. Gary, hiding in an abandoned building, ran in panic when the police found him. The site was just another project of his poorly done. One misstep sent him crashing from over 20 stories high. I parked, strolled over with a DNA report, and looked down at him bleeding out. I chuckled, a glint of amusement in my eyes. Years ago I started "The maid did swap you and her child, but she later switched you back." Gary's mother ruined my parents' marriage, using dad's favoritism to bully my mother. And so she died young and depressed. Gary, you shouldn't have been so naive. How did someone with zero qualifications get to work at the company? I tore apart the report, my cold gaze fixed on his dying form. He stared at me, unyielding and full of unspeakable despair, blood oozing from his mouth as he listened. It was you, he murmured, lips trembling, his eyes wide in disbelief. The shadow of death loomed larger. Before the authorities could reach him, he breathed his last. I smiled, shaking my head in disappointment. There was one last thing he didn't know. His mother's estrangement was all orchestrated by my grandfather, avenging my mom's death. My grandpa had dad's mistress whisked away to live with a rough crowd in the mountains, assigning a maid to keep tabs on her. When I was older, I decided simple revenge wasn't enough. Using others, I guided Gary into the company, step by step. If he had kept a low profile, I wouldn't have hit back so hard. But he played us just like his mom did with my family. Back home, my father looked centuries older, angrily tossing a stock acquisition document at me. "Traitor, you've been secretly buying up the company?" He finally spat out. Facing him, I said coldly, "Just taking back my mom's dowry my way. For years, I wonder if, in quiet moments, do you dream of her? Remorseful? She had defied my grandpa, marrying you with a lavish dowry, only for you to treat her this way." Stunned and furious, he glared at me, teeth grinding, rendered silent by my words. The next morning, Mike hesitantly reported, "Richard, Leo's moved abroad with his luggage." I didn't care in the slightest. Every day I went about running my new company as usual. The emotional wounds from the past were slowly healing too. At a dinner party, I unexpectedly ran into Nancy. Her father had drugged her drink, planning to send her to a client's room. "Richard, save me. Please, save me," she pleaded. "I'll stay with you from now on," she cried out, clinging to the doorframe like I was her last hope. I paused, glanced at her indifferently, and walked right by her. I ignored her desperate cries behind me and didn't look back. The next day, she was found, dead and naked, having jumped from the hotel balcony. They said she was pregnant. After hearing the news, I stood in front of my house's floor-to-ceiling window all night, holding an old maple leaf bookmark. When the sun rose, I crushed the bookmark and tossed it into the trash can.